Hey, what's up guys? It's Mr. Lee Gamer here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a beginner's guide for the Division. So I'm going to be basically explain to you how the Division works, giving you quick tips to help start your game off, helping you start the game off, giving you basic game knowledge to help you progress through with ease. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start by explaining the stats. It's the basic thing in the game that you really need to know, because stats play a big part in the game throughout your experience of the Division. It's always going to be a thing you're always going to have to keep an eye on, gear up, work around. So I'm going to tell you the three stats that you are going to be looking at. So you have DPS, or firearms, stamina, and skill. So firearms is DPS, means damage per seconds, or just damage in general, meaning how much damage you're doing to the enemy. And then you got stamina, which is your health, meaning how much health you have or how much damage you can take without dying. And then skill power is something that allows you to get your abilities done faster. So a lot of people don't really build their character with the right amount of stats. Usually they really focus health or damage, and having a lot of damage and health is not a bad thing, but you gotta make sure you find a good balance, because if you have too much damage, you're gonna die really easy. I mean, what's the point of having a lot of damage if you're gonna die real quick? And the same thing vice versa. What's the point of having a lot of health but you're not even hurting the enemies? And also skill power. Skill power is good, but you don't want to have it too high, because yes, your abilities do help you out a lot, but it's not the sole purpose. So what I like to do, and I'm going to tell you how to build your character off first, is going to be find a good medium with the DPS and health, and then focus on skill power at third. So make sure your DPS and health are within a certain range. Make sure they're pretty close together. So obviously the higher you go, it's gonna be like either 100 difference, 1,000 difference, or maybe even 10,000 difference. And then skill power, you also want to level up too. You don't want to ignore skill power, because it does help you out, but make sure you primarily focus on your health, your stamina, and your DPS, because it's gonna be help you out a lot in your game and your experience. So that's basically how you want to build your character in the beginning part of the Division. Obviously, when you get to end game or max level, you do want to spec him differently. Specking basically means what your role is. You can either be a tank, healer, and DPS, but I'll explain more of that in my prep to end game guide. So that'll be in a different complete video. But let's continue on. Okay, now we talked about the stats and how you want to work it. The main way to focus on raising your stats is by gear. Now, how does gear work? Okay, so gear has stats. They have level requirements, basically meaning you have to be a certain level to be able to use the gear. And a lot of people get confused with this. A lot of people like to say, or they like to equip the highest level gear. So if you get, like, let's say you get a 17 piece of gear item and you're able to use it, they naturally equip because they think it's better. In these type of games, it's not really about the level item that's better. It's about the stats that are better. So you can have a level 10 item that's better than a level 17 item. So you really want to look at the stats and see if it helps build your character and doesn't hurt him, because you can have all the top end gear. Sometimes it might play out really good for you, but it could also hurt you as well. So but when you equip gear, you want to make sure it balances out and really benefits you instead of hurting you, because you can have a complete unbalanced class setup with your gear, because the gear really does make a big difference in your stats. It's how you build your stats, basically. So if you're gearing your guy wrong, your whole stats will be imbalanced. And this is what I was saying, that you can either have too much DPS, too much health, too much skill power, and the gear is the best way to find a balance, because you can equip whatever gear that you can have, or to help you make that balance. So you make sure when you get gear, you definitely want to look at the stats to see what it offers, and best way to balance it. And of course, like I said before, when you get max level, this will definitely change. But when you're starting off the Division, you definitely want to be more balanced as a character in whole, in order to have a better play style. Okay, so now we talked about the gear and we talked about stats. Now let's talk about the factions. In this game, they're not really called factions, but I like to call them factions because it's a term that I'm used to, especially with a lot of other games. So what are the factions? You got your three groups. You got your medical, you got your security, and you got your tech. Now, obviously, the name kind of explains what it is. The medical one will be abilities that'll help you with your health, or regain health, or heal you, or revive teammates. And then tech sounds like something that will give you weapons, or some kind of device that will let you damage more people faster. And then security it sounds like something that will help prevent or protect you, or give you more protection against incoming damage. So these three factions are all useful. So I don't want you guys to think that one faction you gotta focus on more than the other, because they're all good in their own ways. There's different ways to mix up your classes. There's different ways to play the game, and so you definitely want to focus on these 3 classes. You don't want to ignore the 3 factions, because they do help you out in your game. They do make the way the game works easier. It does also help you progress through the story with more ease. So I'm going to tell you how to level up these factions. So you got your main missions. Your main missions are the most beneficial to basically raising your factions. And then you also have your side missions and your encounters. The missions are actually harder because they kind of increase. They get a big level increase going through. So you want to... So every time you do the little missions, you want to make sure you do the side missions and the encounters in your area. And the encounters will also help build up your factions. The side missions will just help you level up as a character. So definitely make sure you do all the side missions and encounters. A lot of people like to skip past them and just go into the main missions thinking that they're relevant to the game, but they really do help benefit you a lot. They help you level up faster. They help you clear through zones with ease, because you don't want to go into a zone and be completely under geared and under level, taking on higher end people and just being completely one-shotted or trapped. So definitely doing these encounters and side missions will help build up your faction, but also help build up your character as well, and also level you up in the process to make playing the game just a lot easier. So we talked about the stats, the gear, the factions, and how to level up the factions. So there's only a few more things that I want to talk about, is the zones. So you have 2 zones in the Division. You got your regular PvE zone, and then you got PvP zone. What these zones are, so PvP is player versus player, where you're versing other real life players on the game, which is all in the dark zone. And then you got PvE, which stands for player versus everything, or player versus environment, which means that you're versing non-player characters, NPCs, or mobs as you call them. So you're basically versing AIs that are built into the game and give you added game time. So which one's more important? They're both good in their own ways. It really depends on what you want to focus on. But when you're a starting off player, especially when you're not used to this type of game, you definitely want to start off with PvE, because it helps you get a steady knowledge and steady feel for the game, because you get to verse non-player characters that are easy to take down when you first start off, and it gives you a good feel on how the game's supposed to be played. And then once you get used to it, then you can go to the dark zone, which is PvP. So when you start off the game, you definitely want to start off with PvE. Don't go straight into the dark zone, because you're probably going to be versing players that are more experienced than you are. So before you jump into that, make sure you always start off with PvE. It definitely helps build you up as a character, and also builds up your confidence with your player skill. So that's basically it for the beginner's guide of the Division. I gave you the basic knowledge of the game to help you start off, how to really learn the game without having that much of a struggle. Of course, if you want to be daring, you could jump right into the hardcore stuff, but all the knowledge or all the information I gave you in this video will definitely help you in the long run with playing the Division. Of course, like I said before, once you get to the max level and end game stuff, it's definitely going to change up, and I'll definitely be bringing you a guide on that, explaining you how it changes up and explaining how to re-gear your character for different roles. But hopefully you found this beginner's guide helpful for the Division. If you guys did find it helpful, give this video a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and share this video to other new players to help them out as well. And I hope to catch you guys in future videos.